Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 3 of this season, coming to you today from Summit Point. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Well, Charles, we head to an old-school American sports car racing track for what we're expecting is going to be a rather challenging test for these drivers. These Formula Fords are by no means an easy car, and this Summit Point Raceway, despite being 10 turns and only 10 turns, is not an easy track at all either. So I have a feeling these drivers will definitely be tested at this track today.
Yeah, Ron, I think you're absolutely right. This is going to be a tough battle. Obviously, 25 car field is a pretty good sized field for Formula Ford standards, and with a 40-minute race involved. But this track is it's just tight. We've got some good straightaways that you can work through. But, and there's some good places to make passes, but just overall, very, very narrow track. And even with these small Formula Ford cars, it's going to be a difficult test to try and make any moves out there today.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one for these drivers. From the start of this race all the way through to the finish, these drivers will be on edge, will be slightly terrified around this track that, let's face it, does not have the most forgiving runoff areas in the world. Outside of a couple of exceptions here and there, it is primarily just grass, gravel, maybe a tire barrier every now and then, but it's usually just a grass berm and some trees if you go off the track here. So not a very comfortable ride, not a very peaceful one for these racers as well, but I have a feeling we're in for a fun one, and a very good thing that we're here in this very comfortable commentary booth instead of being out here on the racetrack and not having the same amount of stress as these racers will be having here today. But it's been a brilliant season up to this point. Only 2 races on the board, but we've had some stunners up to this point in time, and I think with that being said, let's maybe potentially take a look at the other championship points if we can, as we're still rather early on into this 20-minute long qualifying session with 7 minutes to go. I just saw someone take the jump there on the left-hand side. We'll touch on that a little bit later on this show. But here's how it stands in Spec 1, where it's Mikey Pollard, currently your championship points leader at 188 points on the board. Daniel Tuff's about 30 back. He is your reigning champion, slotted in P2. Got the season kicked off in rather convincing fashion with a win at Alton Park, but after a not very exceptional performance last time at the Red Bull Ring, he had slotted in P2. Mikey Pollard's winless up to this point in the season. Tuff's won at Alton Park, as I said. The other driver to drive a checkered flag is Felix Samoas, who slotted right behind Tuff's, only 4 points back in P3. Richard Harwood with 144 points slotted in 4th, with Edward Buchanan rounding out your top 5 in Spec 1. Here's how things look at the moment in Spec 2, where Jason Chen has gone off to a dominant start to this season. 2 straight Spec 2 wins with a P7 and P8 respectively, holding on to 144 points presently. Raymond Brekenoff slotted in 2nd, Andrew Love in P3, Ada Allen in 4th, and Womans McCoy rounding out your top 5 in Spec 2. And a quick look at the Masters class, where it's your reigning Masters champion, Antonio Reese, holding on to the lead at the moment, 163 points on the board. Alan DeGassis slot in P2, Jeff Wubker, Jim Brewster, Stevie Ray, Brad Cathcart, and Peter Maddox ran out the drivers at our class. There will have one more by the end of this race meeting, and that is going to be the Formula Ford janitor, as we called him a couple of seasons ago. York Gmani returning here to the other Weekend Warriors, completing a very stacked grid of racers for this race, which is set to be a tough one for these drivers as well.
Yeah, it really is. And it's, as we said, really tight track. But yeah, it's good to see York back. And you can see coming back in pretty good form, running P4, second in Masters class, right behind Antonio Reese. You see the times are just so tight. You've got the top 20 separated by 1 second. And my guess is as we get a little bit closer to the end of the qualifying, that might even tighten up a bit more. But this is just exactly what you expect for this Summit Point race. And I think we've got our challenge, our keys to the race today, so that's what we'll call them. And for today, maximizing your corner exits, those 2 very long straightaways that you're able to get some good draft and make some moves down. But you've got to maximize that exit going on to the straight, which is the final corner, and then obviously the straightaway just leading into that final corner. Pick your spots to race hard. As I said, very narrow track. There are some good places out here where you can do some side-by-side battling, and there's a couple that you really just don't want to mess with, and you just act accordingly. Finally, don't get caught up in other people's troubles. Um, it makes sense, right? You're going to get, as you said, there's not a lot of barrier out there. It's just basically grass and gravel. Cars have a tendency to kind of slide back in through in certain areas back onto the track. So you got to keep your eyes peeled and be aware for the entire 40 minutes out there.
Yeah, it's certainly been a tough test for these racers. 10 turns in all, so it's exactly the same amount of corners that we had last time at the Red Bull Ring, but I think the 10 corners around here, there is, I would say, I'm not even going to say going out on a limb. I'm going to say this completely. There is no overlap between the Red Bull Ring and here at Summit Points. And to exacerbate this challenge, let's take a look at this track. Riding on board with Christian Kabanka as he heads his way down that start-finish stretch, off into turn 1 here in a couple of moments' time, trying to get that draft, which will be so important in this qualifying session and super important to get some moves done into turn number 1, the heaviest braking zone on this racetrack by far. The asphalt's really patched there, super bumpy ride. Don't want to go off the track either as you keep that momentum rolling through turn 1, through turn number 2 as well, into this very challenging left of turn number 3. Super tough corner to try and nail down. You got that curb on the inside which can pop you off the track and send you into the barrier. Want to avoid that at all costs. You don't need me to tell you that. Here's turn 4, another challenging bend. While keep that momentum rolling, but you gotta drop the anchors immediately as you head your way off into the tight and twisties of this lap. That's turn 5. This is turn number 6. Turn 7, 8, and 9 coming up in a couple of moments on, with asphalt about as patchy as my face when I was 14, making this an even tougher ride than already would be. That's turn 8. Here's turn 9. The curbs around this section of the track not helping out these drivers' cases at all, but you want to keep that momentum rolling, heading down this second longest flat out blast of this lap through the final turn, getting that back end of the car out a little bit. Keep the momentum swinging, avoid that gravel trap, otherwise the exit's going to turn into a rally special stage, and that is a lap, a hectic lap at that, of Summit Points.
Yeah, absolutely. As you see the one car there of Tufts just getting a little loose coming through there, and is able to hang on to it, keeps it out of the grass, or out, I'm sorry, keeps it through the grass, out of the barrier, and decides not to take the jump this lap through, which obviously, hey, if you're going to be watching this race, stick around at the end. This is the one thing that Summit Point has, a very, very lovely little jump at the end of this race that the guys like to utilize. So that'll be a little bit of fun after this 40 minutes is done.
Yeah, so that jump, we saw it yesterday during the Formula V race. If you ever want to see a race car enter low Earth orbit, this is a place to see it, at least here in the sim. I'm not sure how that ride would be like in real life. Would probably have to take a look at what sort of health insurance policy / life insurance policy you have before you attempt that in real life. But in the sim, you don't have to worry about that. These cars and iRacing health insurance about as cheap as a bag of chips, so it works out well for these drivers. But coming to the end of this qualifying session now, about 30 seconds left to go on the clock, and with that off-track moment, Daniel Tuss was able to actually jump into the provisional pole at 115.229. That was mainly down to the fact that he did not lift. He just kept his foot pinned down to the floor all the way through to that line. It helped him get the pole just barely over Mikey Pollard. Jerome Rodemaker jumping up to P4 a couple of moments ago. York Monty, your top qualifier of the Masters racers, with Ada Allen, your top of the Spec 2 competitors presently. So got a lot of more cars out there on the racetrack as the checkered flag is now out. These drivers have one more opportunity to get a lap on the board in this open qualifying session. 20 minutes long. Drivers have plenty of time to try and get it done, but with a track as challenging as this, you don't have many opportunities at counting off tracks and all that stuff, as that's Todd Shue coming across the line now. That was the driver of the number 24 car, slotted in P24, not improving on his time after an off-track moment down into turn number 10. This is Jim Brewster. He's got himself and Michael McConnell right behind. Not sure what sort of lap time McConnell's tracking. In fact, he's not been able to improve in both the first and second sector as he heads his way to the end of the lap. Now let's see if if it is an improvement from the number 62 car. Don't believe it will be. Jim Brewster not going to improve as well, as it looks like just about everybody has got their qualifying session done and dusted, just waiting for a few more drivers to cross the line. But unless there's a stunner, looks like Daniel Tufts will grab the pole.
Absolutely. And this is one of those tracks, and I've noticed this as we come here very frequently. This is one of those tracks where you'll get a lot more Masters drivers up in the top 10 or up near the top of the group. Obviously, we normally see a couple on any given race, but it just seems like the Masters drivers handle this a little better than the Spec 2 drivers. So it's a little bit different. The Spec 2s never seem to have quite the handle on this track that the Spec 1 drivers do. So it always just kind of baffles me that, a little tight track like this, and you think all the lap times would be really compressed, but it is, but it always seemed like the Spec 2 drivers struggle just a little bit here.
And that's rather interesting considering the fact this track is such a staple of the iRacing platform. Yeah. Everybody has done a race at some point around here. There's some people in the sim, I say some, there's definitely a lot of people in the sim who probably drove their first ever laps in iRacing period around this track. For me, that track was Tsukuba, but for many it is Summit Points, a track these drivers have experience on, and we're looking for a good race. Let's take a look at the starting grid though. Got a full lap, so I think we can take it a little bit easy. Sometimes I've had to go through a giant starting grid with a shortened pace lap, which starts right before turn 10. So I'm very happy that we have a full lap to get through all of this. Daniel Tufts grabs the pole. That's his second pole position in a row. And for the reigning champion with the number 1 on his car and the P1 in terms of his starting spots, gotta look to try and hold on to that by the end of this race. Mikey Paulo, though, your current championship leader, he's looking to try and break through and grab his first win, slotted to join Tufts on that front row. Jörg Mani, the janitor, he won 11 out of 12 races 2 seasons ago here in the FF Weekend Warriors. He's looking to try and rekindle that same speed, lining up this race in P3. It's Jeroen Rademacher, the Dutch driver, and the number 69 car, Nice, starting in a very nice P4. Antonio Reis will start right behind them in 5th, with Krisha Kabanka joining him on the 3rd row. Felix Samoas will start in 7th alongside your Spec 2 pole sitter of Aid Allen. It'll be Alan DeGassis starting in 9th, with Edward Buchanan, the Canadian, in the 5 car, running at your top 10.
Yeah, starting in P11, we have Richard Harwood. Michael McConnell starts on the outside of row 6 in P12. Kevin Adrian will start in 13th position. Jim Brewster, another Masters driver, starts in 14th. Peter Maddox starts in 15th, just behind Jim. Graham Hunt starting in 16th. The boss man Stevie Ray starting in 17th. Jason Chin, one of our Spec 2 drivers, starts in P18. Philip Fernandez in the inside of row 10 in P19. And Lars T. Hoos, I'm going to guess, I have no idea. Sorry, Lars, starts in P20. Rounding out the rest of the grid, Andrew Love will start in 21st. Jeff Wubkert will start in 22nd. Josh Wilkie starting in 23rd. Todd Shuey is 24th. And Chris Melton will round out our 25-car grid.
And Chris Melton with what I will still contend is the best team name, Moose Knuckle Motorsports. There is no convincing me that that is not a cool iRacing name. That is absolutely fantastic. And we'll also say as well, with some of the cars out here on the racetrack, of a little bit of time, we've got some very awesome paint schemes here in the Formula 4 Weekend Warriors. And Mr. Stevie Ray, the series admin here in the Weekend Warriors world, let us know before this broadcast was up and rolling. We've got a Jorg in the Popeye car slotted in 3rd. I wonder if we could get a shot of the Popeye mobile for Jorg starting this race on that 2nd row. Let's see if he's going to break open the can of spinach to be able to do well in this race. And let me get this out of my system here real quick before I do it mid-race. Right as there's probably going to be a crash, knowing the way it usually works out for me doing a bit on the air. And there we go. I had to.
There you go. Yep, might as well. Somebody had to do it. I could have done it as well, but we'll let you do it. And yeah, Jorg already cracked the spinach open in qualifying, start P3. And let's see if he carries on. I mean, obviously, very talented racer. Let's see if he can manage to get up there and try and get an overall race win here at Summit Point.
I think there's some video deep on one of my YouTube channels that's thankfully unlisted of me doing a Popeye impression for a fake ad for Whole Foods where it was a $half thing off canned spinach. So there are definitely some skeletons in my closet. Videos like that I have now thankfully unlisted. Part of many reasons why I would never be able to pursue a career in politics. But regardless, we have got a fantastic race up for you all here this evening on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Round number 3 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors set to get kick-started here in just a couple of moments' time. That pace car has made the turn to come down pit lane. Let's see how Daniel Tufts and Mikey Pollard, your two championship rivals in Spec 1, will be able to handle this run down to turn number 1 as a green flag is out. Tufts with a very early jump, and we are racing here at Summit Point. It's a big start and a big lead for Tufts as the drama's already going to go on a little bit farther in the back. Look at Kabanka, maybe trying to stick it 3 wide already into the turn, not able to get that move done. That would have been gutsy if he tried to go for that, but he thankfully backs out of it. Side-by-side racing going to careen their way through turns number 1 and 2, down into 3, and this is the true choke point for these racers on lap 1.
Yeah, it really is. As we coming around through 3 and 4, heading off the hill down into 5 is, very tight corner there. Luckily, they didn't go 3 wide in 1. It looks so appealing, but rarely works to try and get all 3 cars safely through. So good start by everybody. We had no issues on the first half of the lap, and we'll see if we can carry our way through and down that back stretch for the first time.
Yeah, keep it going, keep it rolling, keep this race clean, and keep it close at the front of the field. Daniel Tufts and Mikey Pollard running P1 and P2. Tufts trying to figure out any way in the book to build a gap, but he hasn't been able to do that throughout the vast majority. Third tries the charm there. Holy cow. He wasn't able to pull a gap. Let's see if he may be able to do that in the laps ahead. But Daniel Tufts leads over Mikey Pollard in P2. Jurg Monty slotted in third. Jerome Rademacher and Christian Kabanka round out your top 5. Rademacher trying to get a move done to jump his way up into the podium spots. And I will pass it off to you, Charles, because I think I need to drink a whole can of WD-40 after that vast majority moment for me.
Yeah, Rademacher did manage to get the pass made and stuck, and it was up to P3, drops Monty down to 4th as we're heading down in through turn 3 the second time by. As looks like everybody's still moving and in good order. Graham Hunt up 3 positions so far. Jason Chen up 3 as well. Peter Maddox maybe had an off track there, so has dropped down, as further dropped down 6 positions so far.
I think the trouble's not done. Josh Wilkie's had a moment as well. The 777 car, I'm not sure whether he picked up a lemon at the slot machine or what, but there's been a moment for him. Let's take a look at this as he heads his way out of turn number 3, up the hill, then back down it. Peter Maddox, very slow there. Had to have been an off-track moment. Contact being made, and bang, into the outside wall. He's gonna go. Andrew Love also went off the track there as well. Moments through turn number 4 rarely, if ever, end well, as we're gonna follow Andrew Love's perspective in all this drama. I believe it was actually a touch with Wilkie and Philip Fernandez in that 7-Up car, and Love having to keep that car going. It's on the grass, and very lucky that he was able to keep that car going in a straight line and got it woed up into the turn. If not, that probably would have ended in a glorified round of bowling through the mid-sector.
Yeah, it's a difficult little braking area there. Downhill, if you're in the grass, obviously these cars don't have like Formula One brakes. So if you're going down, it's wreck there in 3. There's 2 cars on the outside. Is that Jurg Monty and Christian Kabanka?
Oh, and Kabanka is going to be out of this race. Monty keeps it back going, albeit he's all the way down in 15th in the Popeyes car. Oh dear, that is a bad moment for Monty. Down 14 spots now from where he started in this race. Not sure exactly the circumstances that led up to that moment as they headed their way down into turn number 3. I mentioned that being a choke point earlier on, and I will still continue to mention that because turn 3 around here, it's gone even worse with the reworked gravel physics here in iRacing, where if you dip a wheel off into the dirt, it's basically feeling like you're slamming straight into a concrete wall. As contact being made with Philip Fernandez, the iRacing glue working absolutely terrible there. 4 cars actually getting caught up in that pseudo pileup as they had their way out of 2.
Yeah, it was really interesting how that all occurred as they came out of 2, as you can see, and there's Jurg Monty around. He just lost it all on his own, and Cabanca, just an innocent bystander there, goes back to the keys to the race. Don't get caught up in other people's stuff, and that's exactly what happened there for Christian Cabanca.
Yeah, we're going to take some more replays of that drama that went on as they headed their way out of turn number 2. Todd Shuey was involved in that drama as well. We were right on board with him and following him in the number 24
Yep.
car. That was just a very clunky incident all around. The iRacing glue. Now, I'm not sure whether it's down to the fact that I've just done a disgusting amount of broadcasts this here on the iRacing platform. I feel like the iRacing glue has gone considerably worse because... Actually, I was going to mention a moment at the Red Bull Ring last week, and I realized it actually wasn't on one of these Formula Ford Weekend Warriors shows. I will save off that point. But the iRacing glue, not really getting any better. It's actually gotten a little bit worse. It's like those glue mouse traps, or like a Formula Ford, I should say, sized glue mouse trap. It is insane when these cars have a little bit of contact. It's like they're stuck together like Velcro.
Yeah, it was just the first incident there. It was a left rear to right front tap. It spun the car on the outside, and then the next tap was front to front, in which straightened the car back up. And then it looked like netcode contact involved as well, as Kevin Adrian's falling down the order here. We're going to get a replay as we take a look. They're coming down the front stretch down into turn 1. And we'll see maybe just a little deep through turn 1, and it's probably caught him out a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. Too much hot sauce going through in the corner there, and kind of a cheeky little bit of a rejoin there. So with the admin, that's the guy you don't want to drive in front of, is the series administrator, Stevie Ray, when you're trying to rejoin the track. So luckily, Stevie was able to get through unscathed. But yeah, that's a constant battle. I know iRacing talks about it frequently. That constant battle of getting the net code, the iRacing contact system correct, and it always seems like it always changes from season to season as they constantly tweak it. So maybe a little bit worse this year as we're going this season.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate moment, though, for all of those racers collected in that turn 1 and turn 2 exit moment. It was just a very scrappy incident all around. Tough breaks for those. Currently have 3 drivers out of this race. Cabanca, who got caught up in that spin for Yurkmani. Unfortunate for him, popped up in the air, and I think he also had forward before he even landed on the ground fully. Todd Shuey, he's out of this race as well, was one of the drivers involved in that drama a couple of moments ago. And Josh Wilkie had a bit of drama of his own, hitting the outside wall through turn number 4. That's how it stands at the moment. Still early doors in this race here for round number 3 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors at Summit Point. Mikey Pollard continues to lead over Daniel Tufts, and we take a look at some battling going on a little bit farther in the back, involving Michael McConnell leading a 4-car train of himself, Graham Rory Hunt, Richard Harwood, and Jason Shen. Jason Shen been a very nice driver to follow up to this point. 2 straight Spec 2 wins. However, with him running in 12th and Aid Allen running well farther up the road in P7, he will have to really put his nose to the grindstone to try and make it 3 straight wins.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like McConnell may be a little bit of a cork in the bottle situation here. He's got a 3-second gap up to Buchanan running in P8, so you got a nice 8-car group up front as Hunt is able to make the pass around McConnell, and he's up. Hunt's up 7 positions, Chin up 6. So those guys are having a pretty good run, but McConnell is maybe holding these guys up a bit. They're going to try and charge past and see if they can make their way up toward that lead group and make this battle up at the front that much bigger, as we see Hardwood also making the pass around McConnell.
Yeah, Harwood running around the outside through turn number 3. You can see him balancing the back end of that race car, dipping one wheel off into the gravel, just allowing that to snap the front end back into condition and keep that car going in a straight line at the turn. There's been some more drama involving Philip Fernandez in the 7-Up car. Let's see what happened to him. It's up on the curb. He's going to go, and around he's going to spin off into the grass. I'm going to get that car turned back around. Not a bubbly moment at all for him.
No, absolutely not. He was just I don't know, just maybe too much throttle on once he got through. Like the corner entry was fine. Once he hit the apex, he kind of maybe caught the inside curb and could have unsettled the car enough that when he dropped the hammer, the car just went around on him.
Yeah, an easy mistake to make, to be sure. That's an unfortunate moment, though, for him to have that mistake. Currently slotted down in P21. The last of the cars that are still on the lead lap, with Jeff Wupker going a lap down a little bit earlier on in this race. But that's at stands presently farther in the back. In front of the field, though, we have still got a train going on. I'm not going to break out the harmonica. The top 7 covered by about 2 seconds at the present moment, and nearly a dive down to turn number 5 for Jerome Rodemaker. He's looking to make hay while the sun is still shining at this point in this race. The MTV car trying to turn this race into absolute cinema at the front of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. As we start to see a little bit of a gap there between Aid Allen and Alan DeGassis, I think, or Felix Moas and Aid Allen. There it is. As those guys, maybe Aid's not quite up to the pace of the Spec 1 and Masters drivers, which is what I mentioned earlier. The Spec 2 guys just seem like they've got some decent pace at the start, but just kind of not really all up there, can battle with the front group. So we'll see if DeGassis and Buchanan, see if they can work their way around Aid there and try and hang with that lead pack for a little bit longer.
We got some side-by-side racing, and nearly 3 wide as they head their way down to turn number 1. That's Stevie Ray, Jim Brewster, and Lars Tihus trying to battle hard into the turn. Not going to go the way the Spec 2 driver, the 535 car of Tihus, got dropped down into P number 14 as the 2 Masters racers. And the 2 series admins here in the Weekend Warriors world, Jim Brewster, series admin on the Formula V side of things, and Stevie Ray, the head honcho in the Ray Esports world. And it looks like they'll still try and march their way up a little bit farther up the road. Your current Masters leader, though, is Antonio Reese, keeping that momentum rolling. Had a very good season last season here in the FFs. And even though he has switched his attention, I wouldn't even say switch his attention, even though he has broadened his attention to the Spec Racer Fords as well as the FFs. He's been able to do well in this series still, holding on to that championship points lead, currently running in P4. And the only other Masters driver involved in that fight is Alan DeGassis, as your P3 runner in Masters, Stevie Ray, making that call to come down pit lane.
Yeah, pit cycle has now started with 11 and a half minutes gone in the race. Stevie is usually, if he's in the race, he's usually the first one in the pits for his fuel stop. He likes to go ahead and get it done and get it back out there on the track. Also see Jorg in the pits as well. So Jorg is continuing on. I believe that's still his first stop. So he had the little incident and dropped him to the back of the pack. He's still out there racing, so he'll work hard to see if he can pick up some positions. Obviously, Jorg is not here with us as much as he used to be. Used to be week in, week out, like clockwork. Now he's kind of taking a step back and enjoying life outside of the sim, which is great. I love this kid. So we'll come back to the front of the group here with Pollard and Tufts leading, and you still got that 5-car group, and looks like Aid has managed to catch back up just a little bit. So bringing those 3 cars back up and making this an 8-car train up front.
The train is still running strong at the front of this field. We ride on board with Alan DeGassis in the 904 car. Let's see if he'll try and get a move done, as Jason Chen's made the call to come down pit lane. He's the driver who's won the past 2 Spec 2 races, as Aid Allen, your current Spec 2 leader, going to lose out on P6 to Alan DeGassis with a dive down into the turn. That's going to work out well for him. He's still involved in that battle for the Masters win, as I think there may have been some drama a little bit farther in the back. Let's see what happened to Chris Melton in that Moose Knuckle Motorsports car, whether it was that knuckle hitting him right in the eyeball and causing him to go off the track. Let's just wait and see. Down to the turn, clips the grass a little bit, and around he goes through the final corner.
Yep, pretty and able to get started again. So yeah, pretty straightforward little incident there. Just lost the rear going through that final corner, and was able to get it caught back up, and obviously lost himself quite a bit of time. I did see Jason Chen also drop down the order as well. And then maybe because he's taking his pit stop, so he's in and out of the pits already, so his pit's done. So he'll be able to start picking up positions now as the rest of the field comes in for their stop.
Yeah, so more drivers making that call to come down pit lane. It's that slow trickle of drivers that start off this pit cycle, but Charles, I think we can attest to this very well here in the Weekend Warriors world. The pit strategy always going to be super, super important, especially on a day like today. Haven't raised this. Look at those track
Woo!
temperatures. Holy cow, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That's okay, as we nearly saw the battling end in tears a little bit farther behind, involving Aid Allen, Edward Buchanan, and Al DeGassis. DeGassis losing out on a boatload of time as they headed their way out of turn number 1 and 2. But those track temperatures, holy cow, 127 degrees Fahrenheit, the current track temperature. I would melt in temperatures like that.
Yeah, I've been that hot before. It's not pleasant. As we're seeing the battle here going in through, and that's Aid Allen taking that position back over from Alan DeGassis, and we see that was Ed Buchanan in the 5 car as well, kind of taking a look and was able to make that pass as well. So DeGassis down to P8, Allen back up to 6, Buchanan in 7th.
And holy cow, the 127 degree track temperatures. I remember back in my karting days, we used to run an event every single year here in the Philadelphia region of the SCCA. As I think I'm going to hold off on that story. We may have a little bit of drama at the front of the field with Philip Fernandez coming out of pit lane. Tijas is is currently entering the pits right now, a little bit farther in the back of shot as a move for Buchanan down into turn number 1 to jump his way up into 6th. Fernandez going to get out of the way of everybody. So playing the sportsman role there is Fernandez. Nice to see these drivers play the good sportsman role as it's side by side still down to the turn. Buchanan and Aid Allen battling tooth and nail. Now they have to deal with Fernandez, who's going to pull over to the side of the track. Sportsman stuff yet again from him. Excellent stuff to see here in the other Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. Well done indeed to that driver getting out of harm's way. But the story I was going to raise, talking about high track temperatures, every year in the Philly region, especially in the summer, we always used to run these events at Wells Fargo Center, or whatever the heck they call it nowadays, down in South Philadelphia. Blacktop, perfect opportunity to race, apart from the bumps, which were not very pleasant in the karts with no suspension. Well, we did have suspension. It was just our spines behind the wheel. But we used to also work the course right towards the end of me running there once I got out of the junior karts and into the adult stuff. After that, I would burn my feet working the course there, having to stand on scalding hot blacktop in a middle of an August afternoon in the city of Philadelphia. That's not very pleasant. These drivers, though, they're cooking at the front of the field as Daniel Tuss going to get that move done to jump his way up in front of Mikey Pollard. The game of leapfrog starting to flare up at the front of the field.
Yeah, they are starting to swap that position back and forth, and I think that's probably good for those guys that are back there in 6, 7, and 8. So we see Aid Allen looks like he's taking that position back over from Buchanan again. So they're playing a little bit of the leapfrog game as well. You was talking with, I think I was in the Discord. I think I was reading something from Michelle Lynn. As we see Maddox off the track somewhere, and Gassis as well. Gassis is in P8. So just a little bit loose, or I'm sorry, a little bit wide there through, but is able to continue on. As I was going to say, I think I was talking to, or was reading something from Michelle Lynn about how the leapfrog doesn't necessarily work really, really well, especially at Summit Point. It just seems like you lose more time than you gain by doing that kind of maneuvering. It's better just to kind of stay in line and ride around.
Every single time I mention these drivers being involved in a train, I can hear just faintly from the case of my harmonica, "Do it, you know you want to." Oh, that was a very disturbing noise. I apologize. Any dogs I annoyed with my high-pitched squeaking there a couple of moments ago. But yeah, it is definitely a train race that we've got at the front of the field. These drivers just waiting to get to that pit cycle, waiting to get to the halfway mark, which is coming up in less than 2 minutes time, by the way. So we are definitely making progress here in this race as we follow Mikey Pollard and him running right in tow of Daniel Tuss. These drivers at the front of the field treating us to a very nice battle at the present moment. That number 73 car, though, of Mikey Pollard, I want to keep tabs on him all throughout the rest of this race because we've talked about him being the consistent force. Your current championship points leader in Spec 1 as well, despite not coming to victory lane or even have a pole position in the Spec 2 class, Spec 1 class, I should say, up to this point in the season. But when you do have a driver leading the championship, that's usually when we start to see them build that confidence to break through and grab the win. And with the gap that he has at the moment, he can afford, albeit it's still very early on, so maybe not the best idea, but he can afford to throw caution to the wind and try and get the moves done to jump into the win.
Yeah, I was kind of watching that lap as you were talking about it, and he took a very just a deep breaking point into five. That was he gained up quite a bit of time just through that in the into the entry of that corner. So that might be a place that he may look at later in the race to make the pass on the leader, should he need to, after we get through the pit cycle. So that's another little place to just kind of look, say, okay, he looks like he can take the car deep into that corner, late on the brakes, and make the dive if he needs to have that in his bag. But for the most part, that's pretty tight up front. Like I said, there's only 1.3 seconds separating the top five, so it's not like nobody's got enough pace to just get away from anybody else. As we see the battle here, this is Jim Brewster and Kevin Adrian battling for 12th and 13th. So they work their way through five as well. Jim, old hand, knows how to drive this car, and obviously very, very adept at this track. So he's giving Kevin a little bit of work back there.
Yeah, it's a very interesting battle between those two, battling for 12th and 13th as it stands presently. Got another battle flaring up for P9. It's Graham Hunt, Richard Harwood, and Michael McConnell all involved in this fight. You can see the gaps between those racers. Round about a second is what separates all three of them. McConnell a little bit farther back to Harwood than Harwood is to Hunt, but we still will have this fight as they head their way down that start-finish stretch off into turn number one. Blocking off that inside line a little bit is the number 117 car of Graham Rory Hunt. Just keep it going, keep it in that mid to outside line as they head their way through the braking zone, just enough to try and discourage a move like that down to turn number one. But here we go, it's dicey at the front. Pollard trying to make it side by side as they head their way off through turn number four. That is some gutsy stuff. Tuff's gonna hold on to the race lead for now. Jerome Rodemaker maybe gotta try and look at something to get past that number 73 car of Pollard, but this battle is really starting to get intense. We're starting to see that pot bubbling, it's boiling. It's only a matter of time before something boils over and one driver falls victim to something, because these drivers can't afford to play with fire as much as they are and have it end completely okay.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see a car way on the outside there going into the pits. That's Antonio Reese going into the pits there, as he just kind of scared me just a little bit, as I wasn't expecting him to drop in, but he's dropped in the 22-minute mark of the race. We've got probably another 7 or 8 minutes before everybody's got to come in. Usually that 30-minute marker is about as far as you can go at any given track, and it seemed like with Stevie not coming in until the 11.5-minute mark, that it might be a little bit shorter today, because these cars are, they're pushing the car to the limit. There's a couple of hard braking zones, but for the most part, they're on that right-hand pedal just pretty constantly.
Yeah, I gotta say, the pit entry here at Summit Point, I've never seen a driver overcook it coming into the pits. I think part of the reason why that is the case is because if you do, I could best compare it to Evel Knievel driving into the Grand Canyon without any sort of ramp. You're just gonna bang.
Yeah.
It just fall off the face of the earth. So very hard pit entry here at Summit Point. The pit exit, the pit entry here, period, and just the pits around this racetrack, super intriguing in the sense that when you come out the pits, you are still on the exact same lap that you entered it at. The start-finish line isn't until that white line that you can just barely see on the road. The start-finish line is there. The pit exit's a little bit farther in the back of the pack. So technically, if these drivers wanted to, they could wait all the way through to the end of this race on the final lap to make that call to come down pit lane. Not sure if these drivers could do it. I'm not sure if these drivers would do it, frankly, unless there is some heavy rain involved in this race, but not going to have that. Instead, we've got boiling hot track conditions and a battle at the front that is still boiling hot as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They're still tied up at the front as Tufts continues to lead over Pollard, Rodemaker in third, Felix Moas up to P4, and Ed Buchanan up to P5. Looks like Ed has managed to get loose from that group of Aid Allen and Alan DeGasses. So Abel has managed to get up there and join the fast group, which will be So getting some information from our producer Guido saying that Antonio Reese's laps now, after he's done his pit stop, are now faster than the lead pack. So he's actually, the undercut might be the best strategy here. So we'll see how this plays out as the rest of these cars go around one more time as they prepare for their single pit stop for the day.
Yeah, and I wonder if they're potentially getting that same news as well, if they're trying to work it at themselves. If they do know, I wonder if these drivers will say, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna call this, I'm coming down pit lane. I don't want to worry about getting jumped as a result of this pit cycle too badly. Buchanan, though, setting the fifth lap of the race last time by, so even though Reese was quicker, Buchanan is still trying to turn that wick up a little bit, a 1:15.8. That is a very good lap time there from Buchanan, and I wonder if that's a sign of things to come if these drivers are going to try and turn up the wick a little bit more, or if Antonio Reese is just able to keep putting in those consistently good laps. He doesn't need to be quick every single time around, and he doesn't need to be multiple tenths of a second quicker either. I always give this simile and this comparison and metaphor when it comes to this sort of thing. You don't need to you don't need to cut your nails by taking a chainsaw to them. You just attack them with a nail file and you'll be good. That's Fernandez. Oh no, it was himself and I believe Kevin Adrian down to turn number 5.
Yeah, I'm sure Adrian had whoever that car was, we're saying it may not be Adrian, but had no idea Fernandez had got over in the grass and couldn't get that car stopped and was going to end up in front of him coming through 5. So just a tough break. And once again, it's we're hearing that was Peter Maddox and not Kevin Adrian. So Maddox having a little bit of a rough day today, but fairly new to the series. But I think he will say, yeah, we'll learn from that and we'll move on for the next time. As we're starting to see a little more debris coming through 3 and 4 there.
Yeah, as they head their way off through turn number 3, that gravel trap on the outside. If I had $1 for every single time a driver in a race like this ran through the gravel trap, I believe I would probably be commentating this broadcast with a golden mic stand. So it is a very challenging part of the racetrack to be sure. And with the reworked gravel physics, you dip a couple wheels off in there, and it'll feel like you ran straight through a brick wall. So these drivers, they try and avoid it, but at the same time, there's only so much you can do through a section like that where that gravel trap intrudes in on that racing surface so much. It feels like half the racing surface is taken away from you and replaced with a gravel trap. We'll say Tihus has had a moment as well. He's dropped down into P19. He's right behind Stevie Ray at the moment. Those two battling hard. As speaking of battling hard, is Pollard and Tufts yet again side by side at the front of the field. Here comes a dive from Pollard. Gonna jump his way up into the race lead with a commanding move down into the turn. These drivers battling hard more and more lap after lap. It leads me to believe that they're probably eyeballing pit stop here in the next, I would say, at the very most 3 laps.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We're coming up to that time, so maybe that was a move that Pollard says, I want to lead going into the pits, or just I want to lead overall. I think I've got the pace to stay up front and keep those guys behind as we see Rodemaker taking a look. And so that's 2 people that I've seen kind of take a look inside of Tufts there going into 5. So that kind of tells me instead of maybe just Tufts is a little slow on entry to 5, taking a little easy through there. So we'll see if that's going to make any difference in this as we head down this back stretch. See if we got any takers for the pits this time by as they come down toward turn 10. Yep, there's one. There's Rodemaker in. And he's going to go in for his pit stop. DeGas is going in for his pit stop as well. So that leaves a 4-car group up front. We're kind of in pairs now. Pollard and Tufts in first and second. Samoas and Buchanan in third and fourth. And if Pollard and Tufts are going to go side by side through here, it'll be a 4-car battle here in short order as those guys will just stay in line and catch right back up. And we're back to a 4-car pack up front.
Yeah, and Tufts and Pollard, I wonder if they're going to decide to come down pit lane together, and that could be the reason why they're continuing to fight very hard. I'm not sure how this is all going to help out when it comes to Antonio Reese. He is pretty much going to, based off the calculations that have been going on behind the scenes, Antonio Reese has really been able to turn up the wick. He's currently sliding in 12th, just saying a 116.5. last time by, which compared to the likes of Tuss, Pollard, and others is only marginally slower, and he probably had a little bit of traffic involved in that as well and didn't have any sort of draft assistance. So I think Antonio Reese may be in with a very good shot of getting this done. I believe he's about 32 seconds back of your current race leader, Daniel Tuffs, and with pit stops around about that 30-second long barrier for these drivers to come down pit lane, that may be good. Felix Samoa is, though, going to come down into the pits. He's going to be one of the latest to come down pit lane, along with Aid Allen, and Graham Hunt also going to follow in suit.
Yeah, McConnell in as well. And just kind of looking, Rodemaker's already made his pit stop, and he's out in front of Reese by 4.5 seconds. So if Reese is doing really well, then Rodemaker's doing outstanding. So we've still got 5 cars up at the front. We've got Pollard, Tufts, Buchanan, Harwood, and Adrian, who have yet to make their pit stops. And that's going to slot Rodemaker up, but he's going to be a second and a half or so behind Felix Samoa's. So Felix Samoa's looking good there. So that'll be our group that we'll be watching, Samoa's, Rodemaker, and Reese, as those front 4 continue on. We're at the 30-minute mark now in today's race. So it may be that this is the lap that you'll see the rest of the cars, the top 5, come in for their stop. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that as they're working their way around through. This is in through turn 9. Gets that run down this back straight as we're headed down toward 10 and pit entry. Let's see. Looks like Pollard's moving over. Looks like, oh, they're both coming in. They almost caught themselves out as we've got the top 3 coming in as well. Buchanan in. Harwood goes around, and looks like he's now just coming down the back straight, and looks like he is going to make the dive in. And we'll see Kevin Adrian as well. So that will be the entire group. This will be the last of the pitters as we're going to come back out, and we'll see where everybody shakes out here as we have Samoa's and Rodemaker coming around the final corner now.
Yeah, I don't think it's worked out too well for Antonio Reitz. It's worked out well, though, for Buchanan. He's going to come out right in between Mikey Pollard and Daniel Tufts. Here comes Samoa's and Rodemaker, though. They're side by side. Oh, look at that. Samoa's having a dive into the dirt as he heads his way down that start-finish stretch off into turn number 1. Samoa's with full commitment, full bravery, side by side between Buchanan and Pollard now at the front of the field. They're battling for the race win. They're battling for the lead. And now you can see Jerome Rodemaker looking to get involved in that battling as well. I don't think it worked out well for Antonio Reese at all. He's about 3 seconds back. It was looking good for him, but there must have been something go on involving him, as there's been something going on involving Jim Brewster. He's dropped down like a rock, currently slotted in P18. Not sure what the deal is with him. May have been some sort of drama as the field is still close to the front, and we look at this replay of Brewster.
Yeah, we're going to get a replay of Brewster coming around, I think, turn 7 and 8. And just to get a little bit wide, he gets over the left-hand tires over the curb in the grass, causes a spin. So that's going to drop him down. Kevin Adrian came in on that last lap for his pit stop. Looks like he got a pit entry speeding penalty, so add 40 seconds to his pit stop time, 54.17 stop. So tough break for Kevin as we've got a battle for the front, and we had them move the race as Samoa's went to the inside last lap. Let's see what we're going to come up with for this lap.
Oh, as Rodemaker swapping back to the outside lines. They head their way into the braking zone. Turn number 1, and Pollard and Tufts continue to battle hard. Who's going to win out in this fight this time? I don't think it is anywhere near over, even though Pollard clears them down into turn number 3. It is still going to be a dogfight between all of the drivers running firmly inside the top 5. I wouldn't discredit Felix Samoa's. Let's flash our minds back a couple of weeks ago, Charles, to that race at Alton Park. He was the one that played the patient game, avoided the drama like the plague, and just kept to himself all throughout that race and the process of all of it. As we got to the end, he was able to pick off those moves. He learned what the drivers around him were going to do, and he was able to just cut his way through the field like a hot knife through butter and grab the win. So look at Felix Samoa's to maybe do that again, as we see a moment for Andrew Love in the replay, heading his way through the final turn. Easy mistake to make. Not the first time we've seen it, won't be the last either, but Samoa is definitely a driver to keep tabs on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Love, that's just pretty standard. Just a little too much speed coming through the final corner. Saw Stevie Ray, I think, who went past as he was climbing out of that gravel trap. As we've got Pollard now in the lead over Tufts, and Tufts looking down the outside. It looks like he's going to be able to get this move done before they get to the corner. Is he going to? No, he's not. Laid on the brakes by Pollard to take that entry even with Tufts, and down the run down for into 2 and 3 now.
Oh, here we go. They're 2 by 2 as they head their way into 3. Daniel Tuff's going to clear Pollard into the brakes, into the turn. He jumps his way up into the race lead. It's still not over. Pollard got to look to try and keep the momentum rolling and go round the outside to 4. That is some gutsy stuff, but he's got to keep it on the inside now into turn number 5. It's side by side between Buchanan and Rodemaker as well. Felix Mo is still within striking distance. They continue to fight in the front. Tufts keep it side by side through turn number 6 and 7. Into 8 right now. Tufts finally clears them. Pollard there within striking distance. Neither of these drivers want to leave this race with the silver trophy. They want that gold and they want that win.
Yeah, great move. I mentioned that earlier. Pollard taking that inside run into 5 and got side by side with Tufts again. But Tufts had a really good run out of 5 through 6 and 7 to take the lead, as they're going to get another battle down the front straight for the top position one more time.
Oh, and here they go yet again, side by side. 5 minutes left to go, but these drivers are treating every single as if it's the last, as Tufts hits the curb and skates into the side pod of the number 73 car of Mikey Pollard. It will still be a drag race between these two as they head their way into 3. Not the first time we've seen this between these two. Won't be the last either. Tufts runs a little bit wide off into the gravel. Here comes Buchanan. He may try and look for a move to jump his way up into P2. The Canadian behind the wheel, that 5 may be within striking distance. Tufts and Pollard, though, continue to fight down into 5. They're gonna go. It looks like Tufts is going to back out of that. Pollard going to jump into the race lead once again. Now coming up to under 4 minutes left to go in this race. These drivers, though, treating every second as if it's the last.
Yeah, absolutely. Every corner, they're just sizing each other up as we've got 4 minutes left in this race. So this is going to be 3 to go when we get to the line, I believe, as Pollard continues to lead here. And we'll get the run down the front straight again. We'll see if another move is made by Tufts.
Every single time they go side by side, it gets even more dicey, even more racy, and even more risky. Let's see how it works again into turn number 1 here at the start of lap 29. Pollard a little bit deeper on the brakes. He's going to go into the turn. Tufts having to turn a little bit out of the apex to remain on the racetrack. He slips back in the toe. Maybe got to try and get a move done into 3. He's looking at the outside of Pollard down into the turn. Not close enough. Will be Tufts. That is not a good spot to try and get a move done. But Pollard runs a little bit wide out of the turn. He goes off into the gravel, and here comes the opportunity from Tufts to get back into the race lead around the outside into turn number 4 and book it. He's through into the race lead. Buchanan, he's now got a fight with himself and Jerome Rademacher going on right behind Samoa's, getting involved in that drama as well. It's a close quarter stuff for all of these racers inside the top 5, and ever the opportunist and ever the driver who you can never discredit, Antonio Reese. He's in P6 as only 0.7 of a second off the back of your P5 runner of Rodemaker.
Yeah, this fight up front has allowed Reese to catch back up to the back of this group, and DeGassis is just only a couple seconds behind, so they keep doing this and may have another car entering the fray, and I think Samoa's has decided, yep, it's time to start making some moves. I think you may see Samoa's trying to make a move for the front here this next lap or so.
Oh, as they are continuing to fight hard down into the turn, and they nearly touched. That was wheel-to-wheel contact for sure between Pollard and Tufts. Front left to right rear between those two. Pollard still holding on to it. Daniel Tufts slotted in second. Buchanan, though, can't discredit him in the final podium spots. These racers, though, are going to give it everything, throw everything at the kitchen sink at this race to see who can win it. It is going to be a fight to the line. I am convinced of it. Oh, as that was nearly contact and disaster into 5. Tufts getting oh so close to the gearbox of that number 73 car of Mikey Pollard. These two are flying ever so closer to the sun with every single time they go around this racetrack and get close. I think they're coming to the white this time by as well. So I think the racing has been tense already. Think about this. We're coming to the white flag this time by. And these racers, as aggressive as they have been, now that there's only a finite amount of time left to go, and they know the checkered flag is coming up close, these drivers are going to be risking it for the biscuit, throwing everything that they've got at this race to try and grab the win. Pollard's the one punch launching the hole in the air. He takes a white. Let's see if he takes a checkered as Daniel Tufts looks for the move around the outside into turn number 1. It'll be a battle as late breakers down into the turn. Pollard, Tufts, down the gears, hits the apex through turn number 1 as they bang their way up the gears now out of the turn and hit these bumps. Who's going to win at? Who's going to win this drag race? Looking good for Pollard, looking better for Tufts, though, as he leads him down into turn number 3, gets that move done on the inside. He avoids a gravel trap. Oh, a little bit of a tap there, a little bit of a puff of smoke coming up in the air from the dust gang kicked up from that car. Side by side with Buchanan and Samoas. That's some gutsy stuff as they head their way through turn number 4. But Daniel Tufts and Pollard, the two drivers we want to keep tabs on. Samoas. Oh boy, that could have ended in tears as he headed his way through turn number 5. The back end of that race car sliding all around the place. He's not going to be able to get involved in this battle for the win. Instead, it'll be a 2-horse race, I believe, between Daniel Tufts and Mikey Pollard. Tufts leads him heading through into turn number 10 for the final time in this race. Will Pollard be able to get a run? Will he be able to get the draft as they head their way up to the line? They exit the final turn. Tufts leads it. Pollard slotted in P2. He's going to pull up, but he won't be enough at the end of this race. Daniel Tufts going to win it at Summit Points.
Wow, what a great finish to that race. And yeah, you just kind of thought Pollard might get a good run and did, but just not quite enough to get by Tufts at the end of that. Is we got Antonio Reese there and has immediately towed back to the pits. I guess he was out of fuel, but was able to get done and finishes in 6th, so he'll get the Masters class win. Aid Allen will get the Spec 2 class win, finishing in 8th overall. Good run by Aid. And pretty dominant over the rest of his group. Next finishing Spec 2 driver was Jason Chin, all the way down in P13.
Yeah, so well done to Aid Allen, well done to Antonio Reese, but Daniel Tufts winning out in that battle of the Titans all throughout this race. I'm still trying to catch my breath. That was the finish that we didn't get during the FVs yesterday. Incredible stuff here at Summit Points, and bravo to those racers. They put on a brilliant battle all the way through to the end, and here comes a jump from Peter Maddox. Oh, what in the world do we call that maneuver? Breakdancing, and he landed on all 4 wheels. Beautiful stuff from Maddox.
Stuck the landing, so great job by him. And he had an eventful day, so that's a good way to cap that race off. Is I'm sure we'll start seeing the jump become more prevalent here as the cars come around again, and I think it'll be carnage here in short order.
I am absolutely petrified to see what sort of demons of jumps these drivers try and break at the end of all this. I think as we are seeing these drivers not go for the jump quite yet, I think we'll take a look at the results at the end of this race, because wowzers, wowzers, wowzers. I don't even think I could have predicted who was going to win that race up until about 50 feet before they hit the line. Daniel Tufts is your winner. Mikey Pollard slotted in P2. Felix Samoas rounds out your podium in 3rd. It's Edward Buchanan finishing in 4th. Jerome Rademacher in P5. Antonio Reese wins it in the Masters class, finishing this race in 6th. Alan DeGast is slotted right behind in 7th. Aid Allen wins it in Spec 2, finishing this race in 8th. Richard Harwood is classed in 9th, with Michael McConnell rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, Graham Hunt finishing in 11th. Jorg Monty gets the final step on the Masters podium, finishing in 12th. Jason Chin finishes in 13th, second in Spec 2. Stevie Ray, 14th. Lars Tihus finishing in 15th and gets his first podium, I believe, in the Spec 2 class. I think this is his first race with us. So congrats, Lars, and welcome in. Andrew Love finishing in 16th. Jim Brewster in 17th. Kevin Adrian finishing in 18th. Chris Melton in 19th. Peter Maddox finishes in 20th. Jeb Wubker, P21, first car, 1 lap down. Philip Fernandez, tough day at the office, finishing in 22nd. Christian Kabanka likewise getting caught up with Jorg Monty early, finishing in 23rd. Todd Shuey finishing in 24th. And Josh Wilkie, we'll be hearing about this later, I'm sure, finishing in 25th.
It's a good thing we don't have a post-race show here for the other Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. It's like, yeah, let's have a chat with our SMB buddy, Mr. Joshua Wilkie. Another falling anvil coming down on him here at Summit Point. Josh, how'd that race go? Well, let me tell you what, Ron, this dumb son of a... And we're off the air already, folks.
Yeah.
Well, That was an absolutely fantastic race from the drop of the green flag all the way through to the fall of the checkered. A brilliant battle up all the way to the end. Those drivers, credit where credit is due to all of them. Not only did they put on a brilliant race, they kept it clean as well, which is just about as important as the exciting racing that they gave us. But Charles, looks like we have Antonio Reese, our winner at the end of today, looking to have a chat with us. So I will pass the mic off to you to have a chat with our Masters winner of Antonio Reese.
Well, let's bring in Wolveronio and have a little chat with him. Antonio, congratulations, Masters class win yet again. You did a little bit of a different strategy this time. Went in a little early on your pit stop, kind of did the undercut, and I think Antonio's gone. So I'll ask a question to absolutely no one in particular.
I'll try and drag him in again for you.
Antonio, are you there?
Hello.
Hey, Antonio. So you tried a little bit of an undercut strategy today. How did you feel that worked out for you?
No, didn't work. My wheel was disconnecting several times on the race, so I tried to go to the pits. The wheel didn't get too hot, so it was kind of a safe procedure. But well, it didn't work well, and I was afraid to finish the race without fuel. But still, I could manage to have enough fuel.
Well, you managed to get the Masters class win even with hardware difficulty. So congratulations once again. Another pretty good race at Summit Point by these Formula 4 drivers.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah, it's true. I somehow was lucky as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Antonio, we've got, I believe, the Spec Racer race, I believe, is at Hungaroring, if I'm not mistaken. It could be wrong. Coming up, we're going to see you in the Spec Racer race tonight? Or are you going to have to?
I'll see.
Okay. All right.
No.
Well, good.
Yeah, I'll see you.
All right. Well, good deal. So we'll let you give any
Thank
thanks, and we'll let you go and prepare for the next race.
Yeah, thanks to Steve Ray and you guys on the broadcast, and for the sponsors. I think he's an anonymous sponsor, and then for the drivers, and then for the viewers, the YouTube guys watching. Yeah, thank you very much to all of them.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Okay. Yeah, see you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
And that right there was Antonio Reese, your Masters winner at the end of this race. And it looks like Stevie Ray is also up there in the interview waiting area. So I'm going to phrase this in a rather different way, because if anyone who's tuned into this broadcast knows that Stevie has a certain sound that plays whenever he pops into a Discord channel. And I'm hoping now that it'll actually get picked up on the broadcast when I drag him in here. So let's do it like this. Why was Cinderella so bad at soccer? She kept running away from the ball. Hello, Stevie. Welcome into the commentary booth. You'll have to look back on what I said right before I brought you in. Don't worry, it wasn't anything bad. Just a very terrible joke pinned with that absolutely fantastic sound effect. So, Stevie, welcome in here to the broadcast booth. That was a rather exciting race that we just had here at Summit Point. How was your race, though, out there on the racetrack?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The first part, me and Jim Brewster hooked up and was kind of running together for a while, and then made my stop and came out, and eventually Lars came out right back with me again, and we had a good battle for a while. He pushed me and kept me pushing, and he'd pass me, and then he'd make a little mistake. I'd get by and just pray I didn't make a mistake. And Andrew Love joined the fight for a while, and then he went off, and I thought, I'm in trouble now, but I was able to gap him a little bit and get it in the end. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Summit Point's always a great place to run. Some great finishes. I'm sure there was a close one this time, I'm guessing.
That it was. It wasn't a photo finish per se, but it was still a really intense fight right at the end.
Good deal. Yeah, I saw, for some reason, nobody wants to come talk to you guys, so I had to fill in the block for a minute.
Well, of course, I blame Ron for that.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe it's just like a foul stench that I just let out here on the broadcast. But it's all the hot air that comes out of my mouth.
I'm not going there. I'm not saying a word.
Thank you, Stevie. I appreciate that. I'll have to look through to see what sort of snacks we have in the interview waiting area, kind of replace them, get some better options. Had like Luminos in there. We need to bring in some actual Oreos in there to bring in some of these drivers after a chat at the end of these races. But Stevie, next week, Watkins Glen. That will be a rather fun one for what's shaping up to be a really fantastic season here for the FFs.
Yeah, it is. We've got some new players. We've got some fast guys up front battling out for the championship. So, yeah, this season looking really good. For a summer season, it's usually kind of light anyway, and then we get into the fall next time and pick up some more usually. But just real quick, once again, a shout out to everybody that supports this league, the members themselves. We got a couple of anonymous donors that have got it covered through the first half of the season, and they don't want the glory, they just want to support the league and make the league the front page there, and totally appreciate that. You can't ask for a better group of people, so my shout out to them.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome to see what the community here in the Weekend Warriors world can always do season after season to make these broadcasts possible, and give us the opportunity to talk about this absolutely fantastic racing action, which is always prevalent week in and week out. And we have a pretty good one coming up later on for the Spec Racer Fords at Hungaroring, if my memory serves me correctly. We got to see you out there on the racetrack, Stevie?
No, not this week. Unfortunately, I haven't bought it, so I haven't even put in any laps, and I think I'm due to fire up the grill and do some grilling today. So I'm going to sit back and have a hamburger and an adult beverage, and I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, I was just going to ask whether it was going to be some hamburgers or hot dogs getting fired up on the grill.
You know it. 4th of July weekend, got to do.
Oh man, here's a nice little bit of information for anybody who ends up in the northeast of Philadelphia. The best burgers around here, Riker's Prime Meats here in Philly. They have these German bacon cheeseburgers, which are absolutely defined. Love those. And I'm definitely not just saying that because my grandfather sold that business to the people who currently own it back in the 70s. So maybe a little bit biased, but they sound good.
I'm on a plane, Ron.
Alrighty, sounds good. Good luck flying into Philadelphia. It's
you'll
be able to see some wacky stuff from the air.
Yep. All right, guys, thanks for all you do. Shout out to SMB, Joshua, and you guys as a whole. As I said, it's been a great marriage between us, so appreciate you guys, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Yes,
that we certainly will. And Stevie, enjoy those hamburgers later on today as well.
Oh, you got it.
Alrighty, Stevie, have a good one. We'll see you hopefully next week for the races then.
All right, see you guys.
And that right there was Stevie Ray taking a one-way trip here to the city of Philadelphia to get those German bacon cheeseburgers. An interesting shout out. They are not paying me to say that. They're just some very, very good stuff. But Charles, that race was absolutely fantastic, and we got a string of some awesome American road courses to keep the season going, continuing on with Watkins Glen in 1 week's time. That's going to be a good race.
Oh, yeah. Watkins is a special track, and these cars, both of the cars that we broadcast here on Sunday, just do great racing there. You've got much more room to work. Obviously, a bit of a challenge with the elevation and some of the corners. And then, of course, you've got all the curbs that you have to deal with. But I'm assuming we'll run the short layout because that just makes for a great racing. So, yeah, it's going to be fun next week. Everybody should come back and settle in and watch 40 minutes of action here in the Formula Fords.
Yeah, and just part of the absolutely fantastic schedule of broadcasts coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We've got you booked when it comes to racing action later on this afternoon. You'll be able to see round number 3 for the Spec Racer Fords at the Hungaroring. This upcoming week for Sim Racers Group, we have got the Formula 4s running at this exact same racetrack, Summit Point, and the F3s running a little bit farther down south, Sebring. That'll be a very good race with those F3s. F3s at Sebring, always my favorite combination to run on the iRacing platform. So that's going to be an an absolute barn burner. The Formula Vs next week will be running at Cadwell Park. Next week for Ron's Race Nights, we have got the Week 4 action from the Legends Road Course Cup running at Knock Hill. Just had a fantastic street stock race at Marnesville last night here on SMB. And in between this small little break between this show and the Spec Racer Fords, I want to take a look at that because we had some brilliant racing there. Formula Fords next time out will be at Watkins Glen, and next week the Spec Racer Fords are going to be running at Lime Rock Park. And interesting to mention this, and I want to mention this here today. Today is officially the 1-year anniversary of the first ever broadcast that I did here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. It was at this exact same racetrack with the Formula V Weekend Warriors, and it was Megan Overstreet who made that. It was Megan Overstreet who won that race, and Michelle Lynn, series admin of the Formula Vs, that made that broadcast possible. So, after a year, I want to thank everybody here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. Obviously, Charles for being here on these broadcasts now for the Weekend Warriors, Guido for the fantastic stuff behind the scenes in the production hauler, Josh Wilkie working all the stuff here, Stevie for the amazing stuff that he does here as well, and of course everyone's favorite Chairman Meow, Mr. Adam Thompson. As much as I definitely give him some shtick for coming into the commentary booth and meowing so many times that I hear it in my worst nightmares, he's an absolutely fantastic guy, and I hope he and the family are doing all right at this present moment. But hey, we still got a Spec Racer Ford race coming up later on this afternoon. I hope all of you will be able to tune into that broadcast in about 1 hour's time. But for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi doing a wonderful job working on the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all for that Spec Racer Ford race coming up later on this afternoon.